Hey, what's happening, all you beautiful people? Getting back on the Hellcat. We've got a little bit happening here. So what I've done is I've got my T-case built like we did there in the last video, and I got myself my specialty U-joint, my conversion joint. I've got that basically all good to go except for this cocksucker right here. Putting the freaking thing together, think it's good to go, getting all the clips snapped in, and then realize that a needle must have fallen down in there. So I said the hell of it, put it in the machine as it is. I wasn't going to take it apart, just for mock-up. It's good. Got my spacing, so everything's set. And obviously I've got to get the proper bolts for this, but holding it nice and tight. So I've got the rear diff sitting in here pretty well where it needs to go. What I need to do now is cut some plate for the rear of the diff to bolt through. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to start getting the rear ears set up so I can start bolting this diff in and maybe start getting some axles and start doing rear suspension. So cardboard template, here we come. I've got them resting in the machine here. That's basically how everything's going to sit. I've also gone ahead and transferred those over to some new plates. So I'll get those kind of set in the machine here quick. We'll check the fitment, make sure it's going to be close enough. There is some spacing. It's hand bent tube. This is always going to be a little bit narrower, so it was tough to get everything this. But once we burn it in, I'm not overly concerned about it. Set the plates in, we'll double check everything. I've got the diff somewhat moved over and centered. I'm within I think it's 1/8 of an inch back and forth with the ears on the machine. So that'll be good enough for me where I can drill my holes into the plate once I get it welded in, and then I'll be able to get that diff mocked in and start working on that lower section. There we go. The rear mounting plates are tacked, welded in-ish. It's kind of a bit of an angle coming from here on either side, so it's a bit symmetrical, and it gives it just a little bit more contour, or look, I suppose. So my next deal is going to have to weld that solid, but before I do that, I want to get the ears marked and holes drilled out. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm actually going to have to mark them, because the diff is pretty well where it needs to be. I need to mark them on the plate, pull the diff out, and then drill them out from the inside, because that's the only way that I'm going to be able to get a proper marking on them, is from the inside through the holes. And then I can pull the diff out, I'll drill those, and then I'll get the diff put back in and bolted into place. Well, there we have it. That's absolutely awesome. We've got trailing arms in, and that just gives you an idea of how much of a stretch is going on here. This rear plate was where the factory axle and portal and tire and everything set, basically right on the end of the end of the T case, and now we've got the new diff sitting in place. So going forward here, what I'm going to do is I'm obviously going to cut these two pieces. I get them sectioned back. I'm going to put an axle in the rear differential and try and get the so I know, you know, I have an idea of how long of an extension I need to make. So I've got it marked. So this is going to be my guide point to keep this on the proper angle once I get it cut and I put a new piece of pipe in there. So I'm going to cut that one, and then I'm going to pull the other one out. I'm going to cut that one, and then I'm going to figure out if I'm able to patch them back together or not with some of the pipe or whatever else I have here, just to start getting my suspension in place. So here we go. Just like that, we got ourselves some lane. Now, obviously they're temporary, so I'm not concerned about this. This is all for mock-up. Once everything's all said and done, I will build a proper set. But Jesus Christ, does that ever look freaking wild? That is so fucking badass. That is so badass. I love it. Dude. That is so cool. Even just hodgepodge shit. Just all fucking scrapped together. Just all together. That just looks absolutely insane. So wicked. I love it. I'm so fired up right now on working on this thing again. I'm so happy. So that's awesome. Okay. We've got that kind of set. Nothing's welded yet or whatever, but not a big deal. I'm going to build my upper bar that sits on top of the lower tray. We'll get that one made to that hole, and then I'll start thinking about making some mounts on the bottom for the lower track bar, the high clearance radius rod. There we are. So yeah, start building that upper one. Here we have the upper mount, and it's right in line with my other mark. So that tube, in theory, should be perfect to how it was before I cut it, with that space in there. So now I can take it off the machine, take it over the table, measure the pipe that I need, get it cut, slip it in, weld it in, then I can take that upper one off and we're good to go. So the outside of the Heim joint, the threaded section is 40.79 millimeters. And so I've gone over and I've marked that onto the pipe. So I'll cut this threaded section out, and then I'll cut this piece off right here at this bend, measure back 40.7 millimeters and cut it there. Take this piece, weld it to that. Here we go. So a couple tabs are made. So there we have the finished ones and the ones for the other side. So drilled out, everything's good to go. Kind of beveled them, coped them, and I've got my spacers for the heim joint. So we'll take these over to the machine. Take them over to the machine. I've got the radius rod already in place, so I'll take it over there, get them set up, bolt it onto the radius rod, get them where I want, and give them a tack. So here we have the radius rod in place and the new mounts set. So everything looks pretty good there. So that will be how the radius rod is going to run off the back of the machine. I'll have enough space to get this nut off, bolt from the coming from the forward backwards, and then I'll be able to clean this up here and then run a plate over top to box it on the top, and I can do the same thing on the bottom side. Here we go. I'm calling it. I'm so happy with the progress that I was able to make today. Just comes down to visual, like just being able to see it all come together. And that being said, even though we've got some PVC shit pipe, some ABS tubing inside of there, a little bit of a thin wall square tubing, some rectangular tubing, sleeved upper rods. I did actually make a lower radius rod, but then we've got a Wildcat axle just stuffed in there. It's all coming together. It's starting to look something, and that just fires me up. That just gets me going, just because of the fact that it's progress. It just makes you want to go more and more and more. So I'm very, very satisfied with the progress that was made. I see what we need to do moving forward. This upper link is too short. It's twisting the portal, the bracket for the portal. It's twisting it forward, so I've got it pulled out right now. But just trying to cycle the suspension, that is too short. It's twisting that. So that's the great thing about this is, well, I can just lengthen it till as long as I need it, cycle the suspension, pull the axle out, make sure everything lines up, everything's good, and then start making some measurements. But we have a rear suspension mounted on the machine. It isn't going to do much at this point just because it's so thrown together, but man, I am so freaking happy with this. That right there is just, oh, it's so good. I'm super stoked. So I'm gonna call it here. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys that have come along on this journey. It's been a long one, it's been an arduous one, but we're finally starting to get somewhere, and I'm so thankful for everybody that tunes in, that watches, that comments, that likes, and yeah, cheers everyone. We'll see you on the next one.